is the mix flow worth it? Are we just spending more money, or are we like, is the screen dryer the way to go? So today here we stopped at the Brock booth, and we're gonna talk to Grant here on the Vector dryer, and also maybe why we would do a mix flow, or maybe why we wouldn't do a mix flow. So there's gonna be some interesting conversation here. So hey Grant, how you doing?
Doing good. How you doing, Mark?
Yeah. Let's talk about the Vector. How do you want to start at the bottom and go all the way up? Is that what would you like to do? Or
Yeah,
how do you want to talk about the Vector?
Yeah, usually I like to start at the top and work our way down.
Okay, let's
we'll take the journey with the kernel.
Yeah, let's journey with the kernel. Yeah, that sounds pretty cool.
So the Vector dryer, so on the top we've got two fill options. So we have a level auger or a gravity garner bin. Yep. And it really just depends on your situation, what you're looking for. So the gravity garner bin, center fill, flood fill in the dryer, keeps the motor out of the air, which is a nice option. Then we have a wet moisture sensor. We have that on all of our dryers. What that wet sensor allows us to do is basically create a map of the grain that's in the dryer. So then we take, and when we get the outgoing moisture, we basically give a scorecard to the controller. And so what that does is it says, was I the right aggressiveness, too aggressive, not aggressive enough, and it's going to change how that dryer operates.
Okay, so you have you have multiple sensors all the way down, or you have one on the top and one on the bottom, and then you just, that's what it is?
Great question. So we have two sensors, one at the top, so an inlet sensor or wet sensor, and then a dry sensor, and that's a true grain moisture sensor.
So you don't have multiple sensors on the way up? Okay, so the one guy that we talked to earlier said that, you don't need all these extra sensors because more data isn't technically good data. It gets the confusing, like, you know what I'm saying? Where in and out, then you run your average, and then it is what it is, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel that that's the most consistent way of managing that, or the way that is, obviously?
Yeah, it works really well. So basically what we're doing is the inlet is telling us what our input is, right? 25% moisture corn. Yeah. And then the outlet is really what's grading the paper, if you will. Then what we do is we take and we look at the plenum temperatures and the amount of time the grain is in there. We do some fancy math in the background, and we change two things. We're going to change the plenum temperature and the unload speed to optimize the grain. So when you have that 25% moisture corn, you get into some end rows and that's 22% moisture corn, it's going to make the correct adjustment.
Right. So what you're saying is you got kind of an algorithm that figures it out. Instead of just saying, well, we're wet or we're dry, it's figuring it out as you go, and then it's moving that plenum temp where it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And the unload speed.
That makes sense.
Yep.
Do you guys have anything different as far as when the grain's working its way down, your little triangles and stuff like that in there? I know, like, we talked to one manufacturer, it had they were kind of a tapered, different size on one end for, like, they kind of mimicked an HVAC system, sort of, so to speak. Are you guys doing anything like that?
Great question. So what we have is, so we have ducts every 12 inches and they're offset from each other. So the way a mixed flow dryer works, and you're probably familiar because you've been doing the research, but we have the inlet duct from the plenum, and then over 12 inches and up 12 inches, or below and 12 inches, is the outlet duct. And so as that grain flows through, we're picking up the moisture from the grain.
Okay.
So what we did in development is we used computer fluid dynamics, and we looked at the duct design, and so we chose to go with the standard duct design because of how it optimizes the airflow and heat distribution.
Okay.
And then we went to the field and we measured the grain across the width of the column, so the 30 inches, to make sure the computer didn't lie to us.
So when you say field, you mean in real world working conditions?
Yep.
Okay.
Went to a dryer that was installed, a running prototype, and we verified. We measured the moisture and the temperature of the grain across the width of that, and it is very consistent across the width. So we felt really good about staying with the standard width column on our dryer.
Okay, good answer, good answer. So by not putting fans on the bottom, is that kind of your standard deal?
Yeah.
So you don't have any underbelly fans?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. So
is there a reason for that?
great question. So when we were developing the mixed flow dryer, and we'll talk about our unload as we keep working our way down the dryer, but one of the concerns we had with putting fans on the bottom is that that's where all the dust goes, right? Gravity does its beautiful work, and our dust, bees wings fall to the ground. So we were concerned about sucking in any type of
Foreign material. Yeah.
And then that gets into the fan, goes to the burner, now we have an ember. And that's not good in a grain dryer. We're trying to avoid that. So you might say, well, Grant, on your tower dryers, you guys have fans basically on the ground. Absolutely correct. But on there we have screens that it's sucking the air through, so we're really pre-filtering that air. And so with the Vector, we decided to put them on the end. It also gave us multiple plenums, so we can have a lot of flexibility as we're running. Also, if a fan goes out, we can keep that dryer running. We'll limp along, but if a fan goes out and they're all underneath, now you got to shut the dryer down, right? So we can keep the dryer running if a fan or any type of component in the fuel train or burner would have any type of issue.
I just know that a lot of guys have been saying, you know, the ones on the ground, they're right here, easy to work on, you're not going 20 feet in there.
Yep.
You know, so there's probably some caveat to having it on the ground too.
Yep.
So there's a give and take there probably.
Absolutely.
So it's just kind of going to be basically what maybe you want, so to speak.
Yeah.
Or what you feel is best for the producer.
Yeah.
So.
And then the other thing is you only have one plenum with the fans on the ground. So that's not good or bad, but you just have less flexibility, right? So one other thing to think about with the Vector fans on the side, you can run that top 220 degrees and you can layer it down. You know, you could run them all the same temperature. You can have flexibility. So this year,
so why would a guy want to do that?
Really just to have flexibility. So this year across the Corn Belt, a lot of guys had pretty dry corn. So we saw a lot of corn, 17.5, 18, 19, 20%. Very little corn that I personally, you know, guys I talked to, were drying 25+% corn. Right. So the challenge is we can't get the corn through the dryer fast enough. We're in that dry of corn. So on the Vector, a lot of the dryers this fall actually ran with the bottom fan off, or the bottom burner off, fan on, to do cooling and get that grain dried down a little bit more. So like on a what we call three-zone dryer, they'd have it, you know, heat on the top two and then just faint air only on the bottom. Okay. And our controller actually will run in auto, running that way. So basically we apply the appropriate logic to the algorithm. Sure. For the cooling to still optimize the amount of, you know, the dry grain coming out.
So I can see there's probably some advantages to doing it on the side versus underneath, but then there's, you know, it's probably a give and take. Like you said, there's no right or wrong way to do it, so to speak.
One of the disadvantages of fans on the side that we work through as an engineering team is now the motor is 20 feet in the air. Yep. So, you know, it comes with the territory, right? So we're gaining the flexibility. We're moving those fans off the ground to get away from any thermal risk. Yep. But at the same time, it's going to be a little more challenging, you know, to get that fan off that platform.
Okay. So what did you do to combat that then?
What we did is we went and we looked at the risk, or not the risk, but really the considerations. And we felt that the benefit of having multiple plenums and fans on the side really provided a lot more benefit. I mean, motors these days, they're not bulletproof, but they have a pretty long service life.
So what do you say about having multiple burners? The underbelly fan is one burner, less maintenance, I mean, and then overall less expense versus multiple heating systems, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, one is flexibility. I've hit on that about 1,000 times.
Yeah, you've said that.
But the next thing is, if a component fails, you can keep running.
Yeah, you're not,
because we
you're
have
not
redundancy, right? It's like, we have redundancy. So we have multiple flame controllers. Can you run at full capacity? No, but you can keep running and keep drying while you're getting a part or waiting on someone to come out. And I think that provides a lot of value. I mean, guys these days with combines, what, 4,000 bushels an hour of corn you can bring into your facility. So having that ability to keep drying corn and limp along, I really think that provides a lot of value to any dryer owner.
Right. Okay, we're gonna go check out on the unload here. So one thing that's different on the Vector is the unload, and I really wanted to see that. Basically no metering rolls, correct?
No metering rolls, absolutely correct. So this is the Brock even flow unloading system, and the way that it works is it's a dual acting conveyor. So these paddles provide a metering function, so you'll see the grain trickling out of the column. There's a false floor, and you'll see some square holes here. And so these wipers pull the grain to the center, and then once it falls through, these white wipers pull the grain out as a conveyor on the bottom side. That's all managed using a variable frequency drive, and we have one motor to accomplish all of our unload function. Just look at how gentle that is on the grain. It's just very gentle and easy as it runs through. And this throat gap is 2.9 inches, so just short of 3 inches. And I believe you can fit a baseball.
That pulls it across like that.
Yeah.
Is it reduced plugging? Does it have any other benefits?
Yeah, so one is reduced plugging because of how wide that is. Some guys have told me, you know, they'll get a walnut in the grain tank along a field, and that'll flow right through the system. Another thing is just how simple it is. It's a variable frequency drive, a gear reducer, and a conveyor chain.
Right.
One motor. So it's nice and simple in terms of how it works. Brock's actually had this since 2006 on the low profile dryers, like what we're standing next to here.
Yep.
So this is a proven system that we've had out in the field, and we're just continuing to utilize it and provide tremendous value to growers.
I thought this was something prevalent just to the mixed flow or Vector, but it's not.
No.
Okay,
Yeah,
so this has been out for a while.
Yeah, it's been out since 2006. So on the low profile dryers and now on the Vector.
Pretty cool.
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
cool. Well, that's pretty neat. Did you want to touch on your control system?
Yeah, I'd love to show you the control system.
Okay.
So Brock's controller is IntuiDry dryer control. It's a control system that we made in-house, and so we did all our own engineering and development of it. Simply how it works is those two moisture sensors we talked about earlier. So basically we create a model of the dryer and we adjust the plenum temperature and the unload speed. Okay. So this is the touchscreen you would get. It's a 15.6 inch touchscreen. You'll see there's the zones and the temperatures. Right now I've got it running cooling only on the bottom zone. So it's nice, it gives you lights and statuses. One thing that I really like and I think is really helpful to a lot of operators is the way that the electrical architecture is designed. The safety circuit, all the safety devices are wired in series, and so if you go to start the dryer and one of these lights is red, that's where you need to go look at. So like if the rear door is open, door one closed will be a red light.
So this is basically like a checklist, like an airplane. Before you get going, it runs through its checklist, and it's like, okay, is this working? Is this working? Is this working? So it almost does like a pre-trip. Yeah. It does a pre-trip on your dryer, but it'll turn that solenoid on and off to make sure it works before everything goes, right?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So
what do you think, Dane?
You get one of these too then.
That's perfect. And then also if you click on it, it'll bring up additional detail. So if you're trying to figure out, well, I don't know where that is, I don't know where to go look, there's additional detail explaining what you need to do.
So for troubleshooting and stuff like that, it really helps.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a huge help.
Okay. So this system that you are showing us right now today, this has been a system that you guys have used for a long time.
Yes.
So it's not like it's only been out for 2-3 years or anything like that. It's a proven system. So what I'm trying to get at for everybody here at home watching is, yes, all dryers ultimately kind of do the same thing, but what it really boils down to, and I'm not siding with this system or anyone else's system that we're showing here today, but I think what a lot of it boils down to is the management system that goes into the dryer, right?
Yes.
Like the almost technology. You can go as far as saying, hey, my system is simple, it works, or you can go like, well, I have an extremely complicated system, you know, so you could be, it's hard to say what would be better,
right,
you know, ultimately, right? It depends on maybe the grower, what he feels most comfortable with.
Yep.
But what you're saying is this system is a tried and true, it's not nothing out of the box, it's been out there.
Yeah, that's correct. So Brock released the Quantum controller back in 1995. and a lot of the features of the Quantum are included in IntuiDry. And then in 2019, they launched IntuiDry with new electrical architecture, maintained all the same features, and we've continued to make improvements. Really, that was just about modernizing it in 2019.
So this system here, can I link onto it on my phone?
Yep.
Okay, so is this do you have it on an app on your phone?
I'll show you a demo of it here.
Yeah, let's see that.
Yeah, so this is showing a dryer, so it says that it's drying. You have the ability to switch from manual to auto. You can stop the dryer. It'll show you the plenum temperature, the wet moisture. It's kicking out a little bit wet right now. What the dry temperature of the grain is, which is very hot on this simulator, but also the plenum temperature. You can look at graphs, but this is all on a website, and so it's very easy to use. We have a lot of people that are really happy with it.
Okay. Our biggest thing is being up north, we need to figure out, we need to make sure our grain is pretty close to ambient temperature, just because when it is cool out, we don't want it sticking to the bin walls. One situation we run in with the shiver system is we have to dump hot. So we're dumping hot, and then if the bin walls are cold and stuff like that, well, then we got sweating. We put roof fans in just to make sure we pull that moisture out. Because the first year we did it, we had moisture run down the roof vent that didn't have a vent, because you don't have a vent on every single roof line. And it seemed like we had issues where moisture would come down and then it would crust along the walls. Right, Dane?
Yeah.
So, anyway, that wouldn't be an issue here. This we are cooling it down to ambient temp at the bottom and everything, right?
Yeah, you have the ability to do that. So you'd run a little lower plenum temperatures to be able to get that cooled down.
To let's say it's 40 degrees out and you want it at 50, 60, or maybe 70 or less.
Yep, you bet. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, okay. This is pretty cool, guys. This is some really neat stuff. I hope you find this interesting, because these guys are taking time out of their day. They're busy. They got people asking questions steady. Yeah, we're gonna explore more of this here later. And is there anything else you want to touch on the Vector? One other thing we should maybe discuss a little bit is the mix flow worth it? Are we just spending more money, or are we is the screen dryer the way to go? Because let's be honest, I've priced them both out, and for the same capacity is not quite half the money. But I'm not saying Brock dryers, I'm just saying one screen dryer versus another mix flow, they were just about half the price. So is the mix flow really the answer, or is it more of a personal preference, or is it the new shiny thing on the block?
Yeah, great question. I'm going to give you an answer I learned when I was in college. It depends.
It depends. Well,
An economist taught me that.
Yeah.
So a couple things to think about. Mixed flow dryers have been around since, I believe, the 70s, definitely more popular in the 80s.
Yes.
So they've been around about as long as screen dryers.
Just weren't maybe as popular at the time.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple things to think about. Mixed flow dryers, no screens to clean. Okay, so that's something a lot of people get excited about, is screen cleaning. So in a screen dryer, when the screens get plugged, loses efficiency, loses capacity. I like to say it's like running a race wearing a mask. None of us want to remember that. So that's what can happen with a screen dryer. In terms of grain quality, there's a lot of people that tell you that, well, the grain quality is way better. We've had a difficult time quantifying that, and I'm not here just to sell stuff. So we've ran 2 Meyer tower dryers next to a Vector, and in terms of grain quality, all I can really say is it's a slower drying process. So with the mixed flow dryer, because the grain's going to be in that dryer about twice as long. So could it have better grain quality? Potentially, right? We typically smoke meat a little lower and slower. In terms of, it adds test weight. We can add test weight in a screen dryer. We can add a couple pounds of test weight in a screen dryer. If we slow it down and we put heat to it, at a low, slow temperature, you can increase test weight in a screen dryer.
Well, we all know that everybody, when they buy a dryer, they look at the numbers and say, what's this thing gonna max out at? So today, we have Tatum and Brian from AGI. We're going to talk about their dryer a little bit and see what sets them apart. Brian, what do you want to talk about here?
So with the AGI dryer, the first one to come out with the mixed flow design.
Yep.
The newest thing we have to offer for the dryer is the pre-cleaner.
Yep.
The pre-cleaner allows you to take all of your foreign matter, 60-80% of your foreign matter off of the grain before it.
So like on the pre-cleaner, from all these other dryer manufacturers that we've been to, mixed flow is just like, well, you're going to have a dirty yard. That's just the way it is.
Yep.
You know, and you don't like a dirty yard, do you?
You do not like a dirty yard.
No, you don't like a dirty yard. So you guys have a cleaner here. You said it's over here? Well, I'm not illustrating right now, but...
But yeah, so we have a pre-cleaner that cleans the grain as it comes into the dryer.
Yep.
Nobody wants to dry all the foreign matter in their grain.
Right.
Use more heat units.
Sure.
So we try to clean that out before it ever gets there. So we have a baffle system in the intake that we draw air across, and it collects all that foreign matter into one central place. Well, we collect 60-80% of it.
Okay, so the nice thing about having a pre-cleaner on the top of the dryer is that it's not making a mess, and fire hazard maybe cleans up the grain a little bit. So that's one nice feature. Okay, so here's the system right here, guys, right there. So it sucks it off, runs it through there. You can put it in the truck, whatever. So how about fan locations? We've had a lot of discussion about fan location. Bottom, side, pre-mixing air. What do you guys feel is the best?
Well, we use off the side, off the end of the dryer. That allows us to have different cooling. We can cool in the bottom sections, or we can run all heat in that dryer. So it gives us the flexibility, depending on what you need to do with your grain and how long you run it through the dryer.
Okay, but you can put them on the bottom too. You guys do either one?
We don't offer it on the bottom.
You don't offer it on the bottom?
We only offer it off the side. What we do is we fill the middle chamber with the heated air, and then it comes in through the ducts. And as it comes in through those ducts, it up through the grain and out the exhaust duct.
Okay.
So we feel it's a better way to heat the grain more evenly. If your fans are just on the bottom, you're trying to push that heat up through it. Where if they're on the end, we're able to get better heat transfer.
Okay, let's touch base on the moisture sensing part of it, stuff like that. You guys kind of had enough already. You understand the mix flow, right? You know how it all works and everything. So we're not going to bore you with that. Let's just find some of the finer points, and as far as drying technology side of it, because that's what kind of sets all these dryers apart a little bit, isn't it? Don't you agree? Is maybe on the management side of the drying. So you guys have something over there.
We have a control panel. So we use a control called Dryer Master,
which is kind of an industry standard. Almost from kind of what we're seeing.
But we have ours built into our system.
Okay, so you don't have a separate box. Okay, so like on some of these other companies, you see that separate box that I showed you? What he's saying is these guys have it built right into their complete system here.
It's incorporated right into our controls.
Okay.
So you don't have to. Some manufacturers, it's an aftermarket thing you add on yourself. Sure. It's all included and bundled in.
Okay, so that's kind of nice, more seamless, less maybe to go wrong. I don't know, something.
Correct.
So you've partnered with DryMaster or whatever.
Correct.
To do this.
Yes, sir.
Okay, we were talking about the control system and having it integrated.
Our Nico dryer, we're able to, if you have the bin manager system. If you're already monitoring.
So if you paired this up with the bin manager system.
So the SureTrack or SureTrack.
What if you didn't have the SureTrack?
So you'd have to, in order to be able to monitor this on your computer or your phone, you'd have to have the SureTrack.
Okay.
And then within SureTrack, you can monitor your dryer, or you can have it set up to monitor bins.
Okay.
The dryer manager, we can change all your temperatures. You can speed your dryer up, slow it down, all from your phone or your computer.
So just so I understand this correctly, if I buy this dryer with this system, can I run this system with my phone without SureTrack?
No, not without SureTrack.
So you have to buy SureTrack, so that's an additional purchase? Yeah, and then this is, you guys have multiple set points and stuff like that. This is kind of their general overview of their layout, just so you guys can see. Well, I think it looks like a fine dryer, so we'll do some thinking and maybe get back to you.
Sounds good. Thanks
Thank
for
you for
stopping.
your time.
You bet.